Welcome back and thank you so much for keeping it here. You're watching Maisha Prime News. Well, and as I informed you earlier, let me usher in Bushebi Jr. with the segment Presidents from Luoland.
I take the journey on the history lane to explore the philosophy, ideology, leadership and the cost paid by great leaders of the Luo nation. Here is the journey of Mzee Oginga Odinga and his son Raila Odinga. My name is Bushebi Jr.
Aliposema mimi naunga mkono Saitoti, akafanya nini? Buma aliposema mimi naunga mkono Mudavadi, akafanya nini? Na Hanili akafanya nini? Na Sarkozy akafanya nini? Odoyo akafanya nini? Osundu hako ngoja, Osundu akawatoka, sio?
Simba Mwenge
and there was a fight between Saitoti and Raila Odinga, and it was so bad until Raila Odinga gave up and said it's not about being a prime minister, is about getting Moi out. And because that was the rallying call, everybody submitted to Raila Odinga being the nominee of LDP to be the prime minister.
Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, tulisema sisi hatungoji kupigwa kalama, sisi tunatoka, chukua kazi yako na uende naye.
Moi was left with his hand-picked successor, almost alone with the party reduced to an empty shell with poor electoral prospects. The Rainbow Movement went on to join the Liberal Democratic Party LDP, which later teamed up with the opposition Mwai Kibaki's National Alliance Party of Kenya NAK, a coalition of several other parties to form the National Rainbow Coalition NAK. Amid fears that this opposition super alliance would fail to unite and rally behind a common candidate as in previous occasions, thus easily hand victory to the government, Odinga declared Kibaki Tosha, Swahili for Kibaki is sufficient, an endorsement of a Kibaki ticket.
Kibaki si ametosha? Wamkasemaje? Nyachae akasema tio Raila alifanya makosa. Mimi nilisema niliuliza wananchi walisema Kibaki imetosha. Imetosha. Ulafi wa siasa hawezi kupeleka mtu mahali. Wakati inafika ambaye kama wewe ni mwanasiasa mpaka uangalie kwenye ukuta na usome maneno ambayo yako kwenye ukuta. Lakini ndugu yetu hakusema hiyo. Lakini bado tunaomba Mungu wataona mwangaza na watarudi kwetu.
This resolved the matter of candidacy and NAK went on to defeat Moi's protege Uhuru Kenyatta. The opposition won a landslide 67% of the vote, dealing a humiliating blow to Moi.
na hapa kwamba
Odinga led the campaign for Kibaki throughout the country, while Kibaki was bedridden and incapacitated following an accident in which he sustained injuries.
Mimi Mwai Kibaki na hapa kwamba nitatenda kazi zangu za urais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. One would have preferred to overlook some of the all too obvious human errors and forge ahead. But it would be unfair to Kenyans not to raise
On assuming office, President Kibaki did not appoint Odinga as Prime Minister in the new government, contrary to a pre-election memorandum of understanding.
After Kibaki was sworn in, the gates were closed. And the gates were closed by one person called Matere Kereri, the controller of State House. These are the new operators.
At least one provision had been changed. It was the provision of sharing government positions, sharing the management of state, whereby the president was Mwai Kibaki. Then below there was share equally this position, ministerial positions, permanent secretary, all that stuff. Now, it was then changed to say it may not necessarily be that way. That is now what brought the government back.
Kenya's constitution had no provision for Prime Minister yet. Neither did he give LDP, Odinga's faction, half of the cabinet positions as per the MOU. He instead sought to entrench and increase his own NARC side in cabinet, even appointing members of parliament from the opposition parties, KANU and Ford people, to the cabinet. The perceived betrayal started a simmering disquiet, which in time led to an open rebellion and a split within the cabinet. A key point of disagreement was a proposed new constitution for the country, which was a major campaign issue that had united Kibaki's NARC and Odinga's LDP in the campaign.
They were doing this because they had been forced into a position. When we were first set up, we were working in a room smaller than the one that we are holding this interview in. If you look at the setup of the committee, there was a requirement that 3 of the experts had to be non-Kenyans. The level of tension between the Kenyan people was so high that Kenyans could not be trusted to sit in a room by themselves and do something in the interests of Kenya.
We agreed that President Kibaki will serve as president, but within 90 days, a constitutional moment had arisen where we are going now to amend the Katiba and create the position of Prime Minister, because we were going to have 2 deputy presidents, right? The one, Kibaki pleaded that he must start with the late Kijana Wamalwa, and I always felt they could have agreed on me to be the deputy to Kibaki, but that did not happen. We accepted Wamalwa to start, and then when Wamalwa died, it was expected I was going to be the deputy president. But that did not happen again.
This constitution included provisions to trim presidential powers to reign in what was seen as an autocratic presidency, a feature of both the Moi and first President Jomo Kenyatta's regimes, which had led to a lot of power abuse and an unaccountable leadership. Once in power, however, Kibaki's government instituted a constitutional committee which turned around and submitted a draft constitution that was perceived to consolidate presidential powers and weaken regional governments, contrary to the pre-election draft. Odinga opposed this and went on to campaign with his LDP cabinet colleagues on the referendum no side, opposing the president and his lieutenants in a bruising countrywide campaign.
Sasa mtashika adabu, sio? Na sisi tuko tayari kama wanachunga kwenda nao mpaka kule katika debe. Timu ya Orange imeshinda timu ya Ndizi, sivyo? Bao 10-0.
We had a constitutional stillbirth. We found ourselves between the devil and the deep blue sea. We don't want the old constitution. We have rejected the new one. We take the view that we have lost the momentum. President Kibaki is now sitting pretty, and there is really no urge to have a new constitutional dispensation.
When the document was put up to a referendum on 21st November in 2005, the government lost by a 57% to a 43% margin. Embarrassingly for Kibaki, out of 8 provinces, only one, the central province where his tribe, the Kikuyu, are dominant, voted yes for the document, isolating his own tribe from the rest of Kenya and exposing his campaign as ethnic-based. A shell-shocked and disappointed President Kibaki sacked the entire cabinet on 23rd of November in 2005.
Following the results of the referendum, it has become necessary for me, as the President of the Republic, to reorganize my government. I have directed that the offices of all ministers and all assistant ministers become vacant.
When it was reconstituted 2 weeks later, Odinga and the entire LDP group were left out. This led to the formation of a new opposition outfit, the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, and orange was the symbol for the no vote in the constitutional referendum.
Assure this House that I will be a very dynamic, steadfast, and honest leader.
There will be a post of Prime Minister.
Hiyo tu tukumbuke, Mungu ametusaidia, lakini tumepoteza mengi.
I take the journey on the history lane to explore the philosophy, ideology, leadership and the cost paid by great leaders of the Luo nation. Here is the journey of Mzee Oginga Odinga and his son Raila Odinga. My name is Bushebi Jr.